In the last session, we discussed about the landscape of the instances. As a part of implementation, what are the different instances we use and what is the purpose? So we discussed points like we get by default 2 instances. Instance is nothing but the applications environment where we can find all the applications, database, and reports and everything. So we get 2 instances. One we use for a testing purpose that we call as a test instance. The other instance we use for the purpose of production. As per project scope, if you are going to do the customizations, you can have a additional instance for development purpose or customizations purpose that we call as development instance or dev instance. If you are a SaaS customer, software as a service, you may not go for development instance as an additional instance. If you are a PaaS customer, so when we go for PaaS, if many customizations are required, we go with a PaaS. In case of PaaS, definitely you may go for development instance. Otherwise, you can do all the developments within the test instance. The most of the implementations, if it is a PaaS implementation, if client is choosing PaaS subscription from Oracle because few customizations need to be done, we will have a separate development instance. So apart from these instances, Oracle is providing Vision instance, not for the clients, not for the companies, for consulting companies who are the partners with Oracle. Take as IBM, Wipro, Infosys, Genpact, and many other companies. For these companies, Oracle is providing the Vision instance. Within the instance, you can find sample data like suppliers, customer, bank accounts, invoices, payments, all the sample data you can find that can be used for training or practice purposes. Okay, that can be used for learning purpose. So when we are going to learn this Fusion Financials, we are not going to refer any sample data. In case of fresh instance, when we work for the client, we get access to fresh instance. In case of fresh instance, what approach we follow, the same we are going to implement in our classes. For every instance, there will be default user called as FA admin that Oracle may share, may not share to us, but they'll create one user and they'll share the credentials. With that credentials, you can connect to the instance. By default, the credentials can be received by your project manager or client who are in touch with the Oracle. They will get the credentials. Most of the cases, client will receive, client will pass to the project manager. From project manager, we'll get those credentials. When we are in the project, you can talk to your project manager to get instance credentials. Once you get those credentials, you have to create your own user. When you create your user, you need access to minimum 2 roles. Those are application implementation consultant and IT security manager. The purpose of application implementation consultant is to do the setups. You can do the setups. The setups you can call as a configuration. And IT security manager we can use for security purpose. With this role, we can create users, and to the users, we can assign certain roles also. Which user need access to what? Accordingly, you can provision the access to the users. These 2 roles Oracle is providing in every instance. That is the reason these 2 roles we call as seeded roles. These 2 roles we call as seeded roles. In the last session, we created a user called as Max and we assigned these 2 roles. Now, we'll go and verify the Max user is able to perform the setups as well as the Max user is able to have access to security related pages we will check. Before we proceed, let me add one more point here. If you assign application implementation consultant role to any user, that user can perform the setups. Where the user can perform the setups, the place where the user can perform the setups, that we call as FSM. So we call as FSM. It means the application implementation consultant role will allow the user to access FSM. From FSM, the user can perform the setups. What is the meaning of FSM? Okay, so FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. If you have access to FSM, Functional Setup Manager, you can do any application related setups, any configurations you can do. Setups or configuration, both are same. Okay, you can call as setups or configurations, both are same. If you want to do any setups in the system, we need access to FSM. If you need access to FSM, you need access to application implementation consultant role. Now, with IT Security Manager, you can create users and you can assign the roles to any users. If you need access to the security pages, we need IT Security Manager. When you get access to IT Security Manager, system will allow you to security console page. From security console itself, you can create users and you can manage the roles. So if you have access to IT Security Manager role, you can connect to security console. From security console, you will be able to create the users and you can manage the roles. You can assign the roles, what roles required for which user. So this is what we have to understand when we talk about the IT Security Manager and application implementation consultant role. Now we will go and check. Because of application implementation consultant role, this user should be able to access FSM. We will check the max user is able to access to FSM or not. Now go to our instance. This is instance we are using. This is the user we created in the last session. Now, my requirement is I want to check this user is able to access to FSM or not. How to check? Click on username. So we could see one panel. Within the panel, you click on setup and maintenance. You are able to see setup and maintenance task. This is all we call as a tasks. Whatever you see here, everything we call it as a task. If you are able to see setup and maintenance in this panel because of application implementation consultant role, click on setup and maintenance task. Now we are in this page. This page we call as FSM, Functional Setup Manager. From here, what we can do, we'll be able to do the setups. We will check what setups we can do. If you have access to application implementation consultant role, that will give you the access to FSM. From there, you can do any application setups. Here, I'm going to select financials. Already we discussed as a part of financials, we have a different applications. You see here, general ledger. By selecting general ledger, you can do all these setups. If you select payables, you can do all the payable setups. Not only this, here you can go for all tasks. It's all payable setups you can perform so that you can use the payables. So if you want to use the receivables application, and you can select receivables. And you can do receivable setups. If you want to implement fixed assets, select fixed assets. You can do fixed asset related setups. And if you are going to implement expense, fusion expense for employee expense purpose, you just select and do the setups. And taxation, fusion tax, you can select and you can do the relevant setups. So this is how anything you can select from here and you will be able to do the setups. Say for example, you want to do procurement related setups. Select procurement. Within the procurement, we have a different applications. One of the application is purchasing. Okay, purchasing. You can select whatever you want to do. So purchasing, or within the procurement, we have a supplier portal. We have a sourcing application, different applications we have. We are not going to do these procurement related setups. We do basic setups which are required along with the financials. But just for information, I'm just taking you through this data. So this is all about FSM. From here, you can do any application related setups. Now, the other point is the IT security manager role should allow us to have access to security console. We'll go and check from max user, do we have access to security console or not? To check, go to navigator. So within the navigator, go to tools and expand tools. Under tools, you can see one task called as security console. Under tools, we have one task called as security console. Click on security console. How we are able to see security console here? Because of IT security manager role. The IT security manager role is allowing us to have access to the security console. Now go to users, click on add user account. You can enter the last name, username, and you can set password. If you want to assign any roles, you can assign. So this is how you can verify the access for the user based on these two roles. Now, any questions from anyone, please? Any queries, any clarification you require on the points what we discussed, please.
The security manager is meant for only for creating roles and creating for users, sir. That is a purpose. Security manager is there.
IT security manager. The IT security manager purpose is, yes, for user creation. One second. User creation and role assignment. So apart from that, you can do few additional activities also, but those are kind of miscellaneous. One more primary activity what you can do is you can create the new roles by using the IT security manager. Oracle is providing the roles for every application. So apart from that, as a part of implementation, in every project, we create the new roles. The roles what we create as a new, those we call as custom roles. It means you can take the point as by using the IT security manager, you can create the custom roles also. That we will understand, because in one go, we are not going to cover everything what is related to that. We'll go phase by phase so that our easily we can understand many things. So that is the reason I did not include that. As of now, simply you can take, we can create users and you can manage the users, as well as you can manage the roles by using the IT security manager. When you say managing the roles, you can assign or else you can create.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any questions, please?
Hello, hi. This is Vishnu. I'm joining the first time. I have some queries. Can I ask in the offline or now only I can ask?
If you have questions related to what we are discussing, you can ask me now. So the questions are not related to the current content, what we are discussing. We can just move to end of the session.
Okay, I will ask after session.
Okay, great. Any questions, please?
Who will hire this IT security manager, sir?
Sorry.
Who will hire this IT security manager? The implementing company or the company in which we're implementing a product?
Consultants like we need IT security manager role so that you will have a full access to the system with respective to security.
Okay, then the finance consultant only will acting as IT security role also.
Yeah, it is not like accessing. Okay.
Okay.
Reality, what happens is once implementation is done, so somebody from client team will have access to IT security manager. It depends. It is not like some hard and fast rule, fixed rule. It happens based on the client. In few implementations, at the time of implementation, as a consultant, we need access to IT security manager for sure. Otherwise, we cannot complete the implementation. Once implementation is done, the client will start using the system. When they are using the system, few clients doesn't allow us to have access to IT security manager. Few clients will allow. This is how it works.
Okay, thank you, sir.
It is not like in one way, it's just different. Like some clients will give access to production instance to us once implementation is done. After implementation, few clients don't allow us to access the production also. Okay. So it works in different ways. Any other questions, please? Okay, no questions. Now let's try to get more insights on functional setup manager. So we discussed about functional setup manager for the purpose of setups, to perform the setups or to perform the configuration. So earlier we discussed we have different product families. We have a different product families from the Oracle side. So these are the different product families. These different product families as per FSM. Okay, if you go to FSM, within the FSM, we call these product families with a different naming convention. We use different naming convention for these product families. These all we call as offerings. As per FSM, each product family we call as offering. We call financials offering, SCM offering, HCM, PPM, procurement, and CRM, and there are many other offerings also. Okay, offering means specific product family. If you call financials as one of the offering, what about the applications? Within the financials, we have a different applications. Let's take few applications here. We have GL and AP, AR, CM, FA. I'm taking all the short names based on our previous discussions. Whatever we discussed, from there I'm just taking the short names. So if you call financials the product family as offering, what about the applications inside of the offering? The applications as per FSM we call as options. We call as GL as one option and AP as one option. So everything we call as option. Here what we have to understand is application we call as option, product family we call as offering. This is the terminology we have to understand when we deal with this FSM. Okay, as a part of FSM, so product families we are calling as offerings, and each application we are calling as option. So these we call as applications, or you can call as module. These are the applications, or you can call as modules. Both are same. So module is the technical term. Okay, you can say GL application, AP application, or you can say GL module and AP module. So mostly module we use as a technical term, but still you can use from functional side. So just make a note of this terminology. Okay, just make a note of the terminology what we are discussing. Within the FSM, the product families we are going to call as offerings, and within the offering, what are the applications we have, those we call as options. That's all. So as a part of fresh implementation, say you are going to work as a financial consultant for one of the client. From where we have to start? Okay, from where we have to start, that we have to understand. The very first step is user creation that we discussed. The very first step is user creation. The second step, we have to deal with the FSM, functional setup manager. Within the functional setup manager, what are the different activities we have to perform in the sequence? We'll see those. So as per the scope of implementation, here scope of implementation means what are the applications we are going to implement. So which applications we are going to implement for the client, and again, those applications are belongs to which offerings, those we have to enable in the system. We have to enable in the system. Just make a note. First, we have to enable offerings and options. In the fresh instance, the first step, you can create your own user. The second step is you can enable offerings and options. So you are working for one client. The client is going to implement only these three offerings. What you have to do, you have to enable those three in the instance. After enabling these three offerings, within those offerings, what options they are going to use. Take example, the client wants to use financials, but within the financials, they want to use only these three applications, means only these three options. The same we have to enable in the system. We have to go and enable, we have to select financials, enable financials. Within the financials, we have to enable GLAPER. You no need to enable CM and FA because your client is not going to use these two applications. The same is applicable for other offerings also. From SCM, what applications client is going to use. From HCM, which applications client is going to use. Those we have to enable. If you don't enable, you cannot perform the setups as a part of project. So that is the reason the very first step is within the FSM, enable offerings and options. After enabling the offerings and options, you have to create implementation project. You have to create implementation project. What is the purpose of implementation project within the FSM? When you say implementation project, it means a lot. We are not talking about that implementation project. Whatever the implementation project we create within the system as a part of FSM, we are trying to understand. Within the FSM, whatever the implementation project we create, that is only for the purpose of performing the setups. Okay, performing the setups. The reality when you say implementation project, it means a lot. Let me take you through very high level information. Implementation project means what exactly we do. When you talk about implementation project reality, I'm going to take you through very high level. As I mentioned, you will get 15 hours videos. In those videos, you can see very, very detailed information about how implementation projects can be executed. But to give you the meaning of implementation project as a part of FSM and reality, I'm going to walk through some basic data. When we are working for any implementation, primarily we take the requirement from the client. What exactly they are doing as a part of business, that will take as a requirement. Okay, requirement. We gather the requirement and we design the solution and we'll set up the system and we'll do the testing. We'll test the system and we'll provide the training to the user, and system will go live. They will use when they are using, if they are facing issues, we will provide the support. Very high level. We take the requirement accordingly, we will design the solution and we set up the system. We'll do all the setups in the system and we do the testing. And again, we'll conduct the CRPs, UATs. Those everything I explained as a part of implementation project. You can see all those. If we are going to discuss all those now, it will create a lot of confusion. First, we have to understand about applications, how to deal with these applications. We'll conduct CRPs, UATs, we'll provide the training, then system will go live. Go live in the sense, client will start using the system. When they start using the system, if they have any issues, when they record the transactions, when they use the system, we should be there to support them. So this is a typical implementation, the key areas of activities we perform in every implementation project. Within the real implementation, the one of the key activities setups. To do these setups, we are creating implementation project in the system. Oracle given the name as implementation project, the best and very suitable name could be setup project, but they're given as implementation project. We are calling it as a implementation. Reality, it is a setup related. We may call it a setup project, but name they're given as implementation project. But you please try to differentiate it. So when you talk about real implementation, it means a lot. Many activities we do. As a part of FSM, whatever the implementation project we are discussing, this will allow us to perform the setups in system environment in more organized way. This is what we have to understand. So we create implementation project. Within the implementation project, what are the applications are in the scope? Means which applications we are going to implement for the client. Maybe from finance side, SCM side, HCM side. From all the different product families or from the different offerings, what applications you are going to implement. Those applications we have to include into your project. We have to include, or you can say you can select. Anything you can take. Include offerings and options in implementation project. We have to include offerings and options in implementation project. When you include offerings and options into your implementation project, what system will do is, system will create the task list. Say for example, you included only financials. Within the financials, you included these two applications only. To implement GL and AP applications, we have to do certain setups. If you are going to implement GL and AP, you have to do the setups. To implement GL and AP, what setups we have to do? The setup list system will create. The list of setups only we call as a task list. You can take as system creates task list. Task list is nothing but list of setups. System creates task list. So by using this task list, you can do the setups. You want to implement payables, all the setups would be available within your project. You can do one by one. You want to implement GL application, already system create a task list. All the tasks would be part of your implementation project. You can do it. So this is how we have to enable offerings and options, create implementation project for the purpose of setups or say configuration purpose. When you create implementation project, include which offerings and options you are going to implement. And the moment you include, system will create the task list. Whatever you included, accordingly it will create the task list to perform the setups. So this is what primarily you have to understand as a part of FSM. Once this is done, you can start working on the system. You can start doing the setups. What setups we have to start, how we have to move forward in the sequence, that we will discuss after some time. So let's take simple statement as we have to perform the setups. We have to perform the setups in the sequence. When you start working on the system, you can specify which setups you started doing, which setups you not yet started doing, which setups already you completed. You can set all these statuses. Okay, you can set status. You can say GL setups completed, AP setups not started, AR setups in progress. So this is how for each and every application or each and every option, you can set the status. Along with that, you can set the status at offering level also. Each and every offering level, you can set the status. You can specify finance setups are in progress, or you can set finance setups are completed, SCM setups are in progress, PPM setups are not yet started. So this is how you can set the status within the implementation project, so that if anybody is going to look at that implementation project, they can understand where the project is standing. Here, project means setups, where setups are standing with respect to this implementation project. Everyone can understand. You will be able to track the progress of the setups. Okay, what is the status of the setups? How many completed, how many pending, how many are not yet started? You will be able to track if you are ready to update the status. Okay, if you are ready to update the status. So that means you can track the status also. Track status. Not only the status of the setups what we are doing, you can associate the resource to this project. Say for example, we are going to implement all these product families for our client. When you implement all these product families, you can specify which consultant is going to work for which offering, or else which consultant is going to work on payables, who is going to work for receivables. These are all specifications you can do, that we call as assignments. Okay, we can assign the resource or team members to specific offering. Any offering you can assign, or else you can assign to specific option. Otherwise, say within the payables, you have 10 setups which need to be performed to use the payables application. Out of 10 setups, you may assign one consultant to work for only 5 setups. One consultant may be for one setup from AP, or else it could be all. This all you can perform as a part of FSM, Functional Setup Manager. That you can take as, we can assign the team members to offering or option or specific task list. Let's take that point. We can assign, okay, team members. Here team members means consultants to specific offering, or it could be option, or it could be task list. Task list means more than one task. More than one task. For specific list of tasks, you can assign the team members. Or else sometimes only you can assign to one task also. So this is how you can assign, so that would be great information for everyone to understand who's responsible for what. And again, we can give the due dates also. Which consultant has to complete what is the deadline. This is all you can set, so that in the system we can track everybody is able to complete their work within the time, or anything is overdue from anyone. And how much is completed, how much is in progress. Okay, from which consultant the task is pending, or from which consultant the setups are completed. This all will be able to track because of implementation project. The overall purpose is to perform the setups. This is only the point you have to understand. The overall purpose of implementation project is to perform the setups and to track the progress of the setups within the system environment. So once we go through this process in the system, you can have a better understanding. Anyway, before we jump into this, let me take if you have any questions. Any questions, please? Sorry?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
System creates task lists, is there, right? So will it be automated task list depends varies for every project or how it should be, or it should be common.
It creates task list automatically. It always depends what offerings and options you selected into that project. Based on that, it will auto-generate. Yeah, it creates task list automatically based on which offering and which options you selected into your project.
So it will give the list of tasks which have to be performed if you are doing AP module, then we have to
Yes,
go on this.
exactly. For each and every application, what setups need to be performed. It will list out all the setups and it will group all the setups into separate folders. Yeah, we'll see the same in a few minutes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Like there will be multiple consultants, and each consultant will be like assigned to a particular option. Let's say one consultant is assigned to AP and another will to be AR. But like they both will have the role of application implementation consultant and IT security, so they can access each other's modules, right?
See, here there is no control. Who got access to application implementation consultant role, they can do anything and everything as a setups. This is just for information. So if your responsibility is accounts payable, if my responsibility is account receivables, I am not going to touch accounts payables. I am very sure I have to work for receivables. System will allow. If I am belongs to pay receivables, still I can do the AP setups. System won't stop because I have access to IT application implementation consultant role. That means full system access. If I do the setups which are belongs to you, system will identify, system will track my name, who did the setup. So that's how it works. So even if you have access, you are not going to touch, since that is not your responsibility. System will allow, but we should not.
Okay, sir. So that's only for information purpose, right? Assignment.
Exactly. For information purpose, who is responsible for what is the progress of the setups, that only that purpose. No controls works over there.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
And another point, you may not belongs to one project, still you can work on it. Okay, there is one project, so you are not belongs to any offering or option level, you are not mapped. Still system will allow. This is how it works. Whatever we are assigning, updating, just for information purpose and status purpose.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Any other questions, please? Okay. So please try to remember this terminology. It's offering, options, whatever we are getting introduced to. Please make a note and read and remember. That will help you in many ways. Now we'll go to the instance and we'll see how we can enable offerings and options. Go to our instance. And if you want to go to offerings and options, click on username. Select task called as setup and maintenance. And here in this page, already we discussed, once you click on setup and maintenance page, the landing page, the current page, what you see, this is the landing page we call as FSM, Functional Setup Manager page. From here, you could see actions. Click on this drop down And one of the action is go to offerings. Select, go to offerings. Hope you are connecting. What we have to do? If you want to go to offerings, click on username, select setup and maintenance. We'll be landing in this page and go to actions, select, go to offerings. Here you could see all the offerings which are available from Oracle side. These are the different offerings. So when we talk about our financials, here it is. Okay, financials offering. So this is a financials offering, and you could see procurement offering here. And where is SCM offering? So SCM solution, Oracle did not release in one go. At a time, they did not release. One time they released inventory. Later they released, first they released product management, then they released inventory, then they released order management. So phase by phase they released this product. That is the reason you don't see the name exactly as SCM. If you are going to implement SCM, you have to select multiple sub offerings. Means you have to select order management. Okay. So one way you have to select order management, and you have to select product management. Within the product management only, you will have a inventory related configurations, and you have to select procurement. From procurement, you can use a purchasing application. So this is how different offerings you have to select. Then you will treat as SCM offering. Oracle did not release supply chain management solution. How they released financials? Financials they released at a time. All the applications they released at a time, but not SCM. That is the reason you see these as a separate pieces, separate offerings. Reality, these are not offerings. These all falls under same offering called as SCM, but they're given separate. The same way when you talk about other offerings, HCM. So HCM also they did not release one time. They released as a 2 phases. That is the reason here you could see workforce deployment and workforce development. Okay, workforce deployment and workforce development. If you select these two, it is equal to HCM. And when you talk about PPM, so PPM also they introduced as a 2 separate pieces. One is project execution management. The other one is project financials management. Okay. So this is how they given 2 separate offerings. If you select these 2 into your project, that would be equal to PPM offering. So this is what we have to understand from this offerings page. The same way other also works accordingly. Now, if you want to implement financials, you have to enable the offerings and options within the financials. So click on the finance related icon, what they given. Click on this icon, not on the name. Name got hyperlink. It will open different page. Don't click on the name and just click on icon. When you click on this financials icon, the right side, you can see the same. Whatever you selected here, the relevant data it is displaying here, financials. Inside of the financials, what we have, you can see here. Within the financials, we have assets, the financials offering it includes assets and ledger. Assets means fixed assets. Assets means fixed assets application. They are talking about fixed assets application. When you see as a ledger, they are referring general ledger application. Okay, within the general ledger application, you can have a ledger concept. And cash management, clearly they mention as a cash cycle. Cash cycle is nothing but cash management application. The payables, the name here they are giving as invoices and payments. Where we record the invoices and payments? In payables application. It means payables. They give a direct name as accounts receivable for account receivables application. Collections, it is a separate application. We call as advanced collections. And they are not giving anything as a fusion expense. Okay, they are not giving as a fusion expense. It is a part of finance, but you have to take the separate license for fusion expense also. If you take the license for like GL, APR, CM, FA, and cash management, you don't get expense application. You need separate license, but that is a part of financials. Okay, even they are not giving the name in this list, that is there. That's what you have to understand. The other point they are mentioning, subledger accounting. Okay, subledger accounting is not a separate application. This is one of the concept. We will work on this. And tax configuration. We discussed fusion tax. They are referring fusion tax application with the name called as tax configuration. So these all are part of our financials. These all are part of our financials. If you look at this financials offering, the status of this financial offering is enabled. Okay, enabled. So this is a practice instance. That is the reason this is enabled. If it is a fresh instance, we have to enable. How to enable? It's very simple. So if it is a fresh instance, here you can see the status as a not enabled. Instead of finding the value as enabled, you always see as a not enabled. So when you see this as a not enabled, you have to click on opt-in features. Click on opt-in features. So when you click on opt-in features, within the financials offering, what are the different options are available? You can see as per your implementation scope. Say as per your implementation, you have to implement few applications. Those applications only you can enable. Now you can see the financials offering is enabled. By default, you see this as a disabled. And you have to enable it. Okay, in the fresh instance, if you come to this page, you will find this page financials as a disabled. Everything as a disabled. You have to enable so that you can use those. You have to enable so that those would be available. If you don't enable here, when you create implementation project, this financials will not be available. If it is not available, you cannot select into your implementation project. If you are not able to select into your implementation project, you cannot do the finance related setups. So this is how it works. So let's walk through this financials offering. So in the fresh instance, this is how you can find it. Okay, if you come to this page, exactly this is how you see. Nothing you see as enabled. So first we have to enable the financials. If you enable the financials, you will get general ledger application by default. So without general ledger application, there is no meaning for financials. You will understand why that is. Okay, why we are talking about without general ledger application, financials doesn't make any sense. We will come to know once we start working on the system. But for now, just make a note. So when you enable financials, automatically system will enable general ledger application. You don't have any choice to choose, are we going to implement general ledger or not? And if you are going to implement payables application, this is the option they given. Financials is offering GL application. General ledger application is one of the option. Another option is nothing but application or module. Another option is supplier invoice processing. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but accounts payable application. Within the accounts payable application, if you enable it, by default, you get all these. You will get supplier related access. Payables means invoice access. Payments means payments. Apart from that, you will get access to cash management also. So when we are going to make the payment to suppliers, you need bank accounts information. The bank accounts information can be managed by using the cash management application. We discussed in the first or second session. So which application, what purpose we use. So cash management we can use for bank accounts creation and bank account maintenance purpose. So if you are going to implement payables application, you need cash management also. You get by default, you no need to select it. So if you enable this payables, you will get access to everything. These are already enabled. These all are part of payables. That is the meaning of it. So if you want to implement Fusion Expense for your client, enable it. Okay, you have to enable. You want to implement fixed assets, enable it. And you want to implement receivables, you have to enable it. The customer invoice processing is nothing but the complete solution of accounts receivable. Okay, the solution of account receivables. So customer invoice processing is nothing but accounts receivable. You have to enable so that you can implement receivables. When you enable receivables, this is all you get by default. Okay, and collection also. Even it is separate application, they're given as a part of receivables. And other application is revenue management. There is separate application called as revenue management cloud services. If you are going to implement for your client, you have to enable it. And the next one is, it's not an application, it is one of the advanced functionality or advanced feature which is available in our applications, which we call as intercompany. Intercompany means we do the business with our suppliers and customers. Sometimes, say you have two branches in your business. Between the branches, there may be some transactions. Branch 1 may take some services from branch 2, or branch 2 may provide some services to branch 1, or else branch 1 can send some material to branch 2, 2 can send material to branch 1. Even it is happening within the organization, we don't get any revenue or we don't spend any money. Everything is happening internally as adjustments. So to capture such kind of business transactions, we use intercompany concept. Internally, if you are dealing anything that you can track very detailed level and you can produce the reports also. Another topic, it is not an offering or option. Another concept is budgetary control and encumbrance. If you want to implement budget concept for your client, you can enable this. The rest all are related to reporting purpose. Okay. The rest all what you see here, this all talks about reports, BI, business intelligence, nothing but OTBI, Oracle Transaction Business Intelligence. With this, you can perform the analysis or you can produce the reports also. So when we are going to enable this, what you can do, enable everything, no harm. There won't be any issue, there won't be any risk. Enable everything. What you have to implement, you can implement it. That's it. That's what generally we do. So what you can do is enable financials. Okay, just enable financials and enable rest of whatever you are going to implement within the financials. Okay, this is the process we follow. First, we have to enable the financials. This is all about offering we are enabling. Within this offering, what are the different options we are going to implement? Those also you have to enable. Just enable whatever you want to implement. When we are dealing with the fresh instance, you enable everything. There won't be any issue at all. So enable everything what you see as a part of your financials offering. This is what we have to do. So enable everything and click on done. And apart from that, here you can see the features. Okay, the features you can see. What does it mean by features? If you are going to implement financials, you will get all the features. Sometimes some features you have to enable. By default, you no need to do anything. So, but just I'll walk through that page, how that features you can see. So you are going to implement financials. The most of the features which are available in the financials, you can implement. On top of it, more than that, if you want to add something to finance as per the client requirements, you can go to the features. Just click on edit. So these are the different features which can be applicable for your financials on top of it. So these are the different, again, this is separate subscription. Okay. So separate offering, GRC, governance, risk and compliance. Some companies will implement this GRC also when they use finance application or any other applications. To create certain policies or to create certain rules, it is also more related to security aspects, which user need to have access to what and how to optimize their process when they are making the payment or receiving the payments. For that purposes, some clients will use. But think it is not part of finance, and top of finance, they can use this as separate offering. Altogether, it comes under separate course also for the learners. So most of the things are enabled. You no need to set anything. So this is the point you have to notice. Just for your observation purpose, I'm just taking you to this page. You no need to do anything. What you have to do? Enable offering. Within the offering, what are the options you are implementing for your client? Those you can enable, or else you can enable everything. There won't be any risk. After enabling, you can select the same into your project and you can use it. So this is what we have to understand about the offering and options. Okay, the offerings and options. So you can just click on done. We don't do setups from here. We do from the project. From here, it will display the setups, but not required. The same way, if you go to procurement, select procurement, click on opt-in features. The procurement also enabled in this instance. Since this is a kind of practice instance, think somebody enabled before you. But reality, how we enable, we go to opt-in features. All the offerings options you see in the fresh instance as not enabled. We have to enable those. Just go to opt-in features. So here you can see what we have as a part of procurement. As a part of procurement, we have application called as purchasing application. Apart from purchasing, we have self-service procurement application. This you can call as iProcurement. So other application is, you can see what we have to understand. Let's see that. Supplier portal is separate application, and this you can call as iSupplier. And other application is sourcing and procurement contracts. These are the key applications which are part of procurement. Always remember, when you say procurement, the collection of these applications. Within the procurement, purchasing is one of the key application. Okay, one of the key application. Just be aware of this information, that will help you. You no need to do anything, but the people who got 4, 5, 6 years of experience, they know many things. That is the reason we should know these things. So that's how you can enable the offerings and options. So apart from that, you could see some relevant documents. Select financials, expand relevant documents. So Oracle is providing few documents related to our financials. Okay, here you can see associated features. What are the different features are available within the financials? The features list you can find here. The document is available in these 3 different formats. You can download and you can view the data. In the same way, as a part of financials, it means when you implement financials, what setups we have to perform. The complete list of setups, they are providing the separate documents. Okay. So once you create implementation project, you will come to know all this. The business objects, enterprise applications, nothing to do with this, being a finance consultant. So these 2 documents you may just download and you can view. But before that, anyway, we are going to see in the system. So what we have inside of financials once you create the project. The moment you create the project, you will come to know all those. Before creating the project, if you want to view the data, you can download and you can see. It may not make sense for you as of now. Okay, that is just for information. You may download and you can see, but I don't recommend now. After doing some setups, go through it so that you will have a better understanding. Now you don't need to touch it. Just click on done. So this is all about enabling offerings and options. after enabling offerings and options, we can create implementation project. Let's see how to create implementation project. So before we create implementation project, let's have few questions. The questions are, who is going to create implementation project? The consultant is going to create implementation project. Don't think since it is implementation project manager has to create. That is a different implementation project. To plan and execute entire implementation activities, the project need to be created by project manager. They may create project maybe in the MSP or Primavera or in the different project management tools. No project manager will create implementation project within the Fusion. In the Fusion, whatever the implementation project we create, that is for just one of the activity called as setups. So this is a point we should aware. Being a consultant, we create implementation project. Project manager never create implementation project in the Fusion. They can have some third-party tools. Most of the implementations, project managers creates implementation project, the entire plan, how they are going to execute, who are the team members, which team member is working for which task, what are the deliverables within the project. Those all they'll define by using MSP, Microsoft Projects. By using that application, they create the project plan, and they or else they may create by using Primavera project plan tool. By using that, they may create. If not these two, they may use some internal tools or some third-party tools. So this is what we have to understand. So the project what we are going to create in the Fusion instance is setup purpose, that always should be created by consultant, not by manager. And my next question is, how many implementation projects we have to create? If you are going to create implementation projects within the instance, how many implementation projects we have to create? So we have to create separate project for each country. For each country, we can create separate implementation project so that you can do the perform the setups country wise. You can have a single project for multiple countries. System will support, but sometimes there could be some sort of mess. You may get confused while you do the setups for US. By mistake, you may perform the setup for India. Since everything is going to be in the one project, you may go with some wrong navigation or wrong value selection. To avoid such kind of confusions, always we create separate implementation project country wise, so that you may work for multiple countries or different teams could be there for each country. So your process would be very, very smoother. You never commit with mistakes in terms of doing the setups. This is the point you have to understand when you talk about how many implementation projects we have to create. 2 points we discussed. Who has to create implementation project? Project manager not. Consultant has to create. We have to create. The second point. So how many implementation projects we have to create? So the best practice is for each country, one project, so that when you do the setups, the process will become more smoother. If you create one project, still you can do the setups for multiple countries from the same project, but you have to be very, very careful. If not one time, other time, definitely you commit with some mistakes while you do the setup. Since the India data, US data, or UK data, you are going to try to set up from the same project. There are chances you will come to know once we start working on the system, there is a possibility of committing with the mistakes if you use single project for multiple countries. So this is what you have to understand. When you say implementation project, it is not real implementation. This is just for setup purpose. This is what we have to understand. Now, we will go and see how to create implementation project. After creating implementation project, if you have any questions on implementation project creation, I will take those. So go to instance. I want to create implementation project. Say we are going to do the implementation for US client. I want to create implementation project. And what applications are in the scope? Say financials. You may include some other applications also as per reality. Let's take simple case. Finance in the scope means we are going to implement only financials, and other point is we are going to implement the scope of the countries are only US. So in this case, how to do the setups, how to create a project, we will see that. So from this page itself, you can go to task list. This you call as a task list. It contains multiple tasks. You could see more or less similar to notepad kind of icon. Okay, notepad kind of icon. This we can call as task list or call it as task pan or task panel. Task pan or task list. It contains multiple tasks. In this task list, you have one task called as implementation projects. Okay, implementation projects. So click on manage implementation projects so that you will be able to create the implementation project. I'll take you through the navigation once again. Say you connected to the instance, you want to create implementation project, how to create? Click on user. Once you connect to the instance, click on username. Click on setup and maintenance task. Now we'll be landing in this page. From here only we can perform the offering related enabling offerings and options activity. Okay, that already we discussed. Now we are not going to do anything related to that. So click on this task list or task pan. You click on the task panel, and here is the task called as manage implementation projects. Click on manage implementation project task. It will take us to implementation projects page. So if you are dealing with a fresh instance, okay, if you are working for your client, you will see this page blank. You don't see any projects. You don't see any projects. Whatever you create, that would be the first one. Oracle is not going to provide you any sample projects. You have to create. Let's see how to create it. It's a very simple process. Here, click on this plus icon. Okay, click on this plus icon to create the new project. So by default, system is taking some default name. You have to override this name. You have to change this name as per your requirement. Say, for example, we are going to do the implementation for company called as Max Group. You can take the name as Max implementation project. The suffix numbers and all you can remove. Okay, I'm just keeping the name very clear. Max implementation project. If you are doing the implementation for multiple countries at a time, you can keep the name, the country code you can include within the project name itself. You can say Max US implementation project. If you are doing implementation for only one country, you no need to differentiate implementation projects with the country code since we are implementing for only one country. So you can keep it as just Max implementation project. If you are doing for multiple countries, include country code within the name. Okay, follow the same naming convention. You have to give the client name or customer or company name for whom you are implementing. The rest, what system is taking, you can accept. Now use tab from your keyboard. It will copy the same as a code as well as a description. Okay, just provide the name and use tab. The same will be defaulted as a code and a description. Once you create implementation project, the code field system will freeze. It won't allow you to do any changes. If at all you want to do any changes, you can do for name as well as description, not for code. Remember this. Since we are creating the project just now to do the setups, you can see the status as a not started. Yes, we not yet started doing the setups. In fact, the project also not ready. We are creating this project from this user. Username is Max. So system is assigning this project to same user. So project assignment is not mandatory for a specific user. You can just select blank. You can select blank. Or else if you want to assign this project to another user, you can assign. You can keep Max only since system is defaulting. You are creating from Max user. If you want to assign this project to any other user, you can click on search. You can assign this project to another user. The user name is, say, ERPTREE. Select. So this is all about project level. We are not talking about offering or options level or specific task list level, project level. So it doesn't matter whether you assign this project to user or not. Just for information, like who created, by default system assign this project to the same user. If you want to change, you can change how you want to map. Here we have to specify the start date and finish date. Finish date means the tentative finish date, not exactly. Okay, so that you can specify. Since we are creating project with the today, system is taking the today's date. Okay, we are creating project today. Today's date system is taking as a start date, and you may complete the setups within week time. Then you can give the finish date would be 9th. This is just for information and it will help us for tracking purpose. Apart from that, no controls. After Feb 9th, system will allow you to do the setups if you want to do it. Don't think this is a deadline to do anything within the project. No, this is just for information purpose. Okay, you can give tentative finish date or else ignore it, leave it. If you don't want to give approximate date to finish these setups in the system, ignore it, no issues. Anyway, we give it. Now click on next. If you click on next, what system will do is within this instance, okay, within this instance, how many offerings and options are already enabled, all system will display. So whatever you want to include into your project, you can include. That's what we discussed. So after creating implementation project, or you can say during the implementation project creation, we have to include offerings and options. Which offerings and options you can include, which offerings and options are enabled. Say for example, we didn't enable offering called as financials. Now, if you want to select financials into your project, it is not possible. System won't display. Only enabled offerings and options would be available to include into our project. Okay, now see, we just clicked on next. It is taking us to this page. Here you can see all the offerings which are already enabled in this instance. Now we want to select financials into our project. Here is the financials. Just click on include, just enable include checkbox. So within the financials, what we have, you can see here. What we have a supplier invoice processing, nothing but payables and expense, fixed assets, customer invoice processing, receivables application, revenue management, intercompany. It is not application, it is a separate feature. Budgets, it's a separate feature. And financial business intelligence analytics, BA analysis for reporting purpose. So these all are part of our financials. Where is cash management and general ledger application? We have GL, AP, AR, and expense. Tax also they don't display here. That is just part of setup. It would be part of finance. So here directly you don't see anything related to tax and anything related to general ledger and the cash management. Because within the payables and receivables, cash management is already part of it. And if you are using the financials, you get GL application by default. So that is the reason when we are going to include these options into our implementation project, you don't see anything as a general ledger. At the time of enabling the offering called as financials, we have seen by default system is enabled general ledger application. That's how you get into your project also. So just include financials. Within the financials, what we are going to implement, those also include. We are going to implement payables. Payables, nothing but supplier invoice processing. You want to implement fusion expense, include it. You are going to implement fixed assets, include it. So we are going to implement receivables, include customer invoice processing. So that's how everything, just whatever you want to include it. Even if something you are not going to implement, if you include, there won't be any issues you will face. Just those will be lying in our project. If you want to implement, or else ignore them. Include this. So this is how we have to include. When you include, click on Save and Open Project. When you click on Save and Open Project, system will identify which offerings are included within the offerings, what are the different options or specific features are included. The system will identify to implement all those offerings and options and features, what setups need to be performed. System will generate list of setups. System will generate list of setups that we are calling as task list. System creates task list. Now system is going to create the task list, nothing but list of setups. Which list of setups? Whatever we selected into our project, the relevant list of setups. It takes some time. It may take at least 1 minute time because there are many tasks system has to auto generate. Yeah, it's done. Our project is created as a Max implementation project. This is a project basic information. And within our project, system created one folder for financials. Within this financials folder, you can find all our options. Just expand this folder. You can see system created subfolders. If you notice here is our payables folder. Define invoicing and payment configuration is nothing but payables. Define expense configuration means expense application. Define fixed assets configuration, the name is very clear. Define receivables configuration, define revenue management, define cash management and banking configuration. So each folder is talking about one offering. Say you want to implement payables application, you can go to payables folder, expand this, and again we have a subfolders. So within the payables, all the setups are classified into these different subfolders. Now again, you can expand any one of the folder. So under this folder, we have these tasks. These we call as a task. Ultimately, you can do anything by using this task. Wherever you see the folder option, you see when you place the cursor on the folder option, system says that is a task list. It contains tasks. That is not a task at all. Inside of the task list, you can have another task list or directly task. So by using these tasks, you will be able to do the setups. For example, I want to create payment terms. Don't think about what is a payment term. We will discuss later. Now, just to give you some understanding how we can navigate to the pages to do the setups, I want to take you through this. I want to create payment terms. If I want to create payment terms, I should click on this go to task icon. You see the column name. Column name is go to task. So you have to click on this go to task icon. It will take us to payment terms page and we can create the payment terms whatever business required. That's it. If you want to create payment terms, click on create and you can create it. But we are not discussing how to create now, just for information I'm taking through. We have a lot of time to do all this. Just click on that. So this is how system creates implementation project. Within that, you can see the task list, which are grouped into option wise, and within the option subgrouping, and everything will be under specific offering. This you can collapse and collapse. So this is how you can create implementation project. Say you started working on this implementation project, you can update the status. The status is not started. Say we started doing the setups. When you start doing the setups, you can go to edit. You can set this project status as a in progress. Means we started working on this project. So we want to keep an assignment to our user only as a max. You can search and you can select our user for our project. Find out. select, say OK. So anytime you can change the assignments. If you look at this basic information, our implementation project, basic information, you can change anything except code. Code you cannot change. At the time of project creation, whatever the code you are providing or whatever the code system is taking based on the name what you are giving, that is permanent. You cannot modify. So apart from code, anything you can modify. So later I want to change, not by 9, setup should be completed by 8 only, or else I can extend it. So that's how you can do the required modification, say save and close. Now the project status is in progress. Okay. In tomorrow's session, we'll focus on all the points, how to update the status, offering level, option level, task list, task level, how to associate project team members, various levels, and what is the meaning of all these columns we will discuss so that we can start working on the setups by understanding certain points before we start with the setups. So we're done for today. If you have any questions, please stay back. Okay, please stay back. We will discuss. If you don't have any questions, we'll connect tomorrow same time. Thank you all. Any questions, please?
Hello, sir.
Please.
Sir, when we are creating the implementation project, right?
Yes.
So you said country is one of the criteria to take into consideration.
Correct.
Are there any other like such?
Country only, primarily country. Again, it is
Primary
not
country.
mandatory. It is not a rule. So for smoother configuration perspective, you can go with a project's country specific. Always we do all the setups based on various parameters. Those will happen inside of the project.
Okay.
Okay, there's a lot of criteria. We do the setups based on suppliers, customers, and different criterias we have when we do the setups. But just to create the project, primarily you can take country as a criteria.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hello, sir.
Please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that if we enable other offerings or other options like for which we have not taken any license, so will Oracle allow it or will it like charge penalty for it afterwards?
No, if you enable, nothing wrong. If you use, everything goes wrong. You have to pay penalties.
Okay, so for enabling, there is no penalty.
Yeah, if you enable, no. See, by enabling what you are enjoying, nothing, right? If you are using those for your company, there will be penalty. Oracle always conduct audit with certain intervals because these instances are going to be in the Oracle control. They can check anytime.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Yeah. Questions, please.
Sir, while from FSM page, we have selected the offering financials, right? At that place, we have seen this procurement also.
Correct.
Procurement is also part of financials.
No.
Why it was provided
No.
separately?
Procurement is not part of finance. Procurement is procurement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So generally, AP comes under procurement, right, sir?
No,
But
wrong.
we see that in,
No, 1 second, wrong. AP
Okay.
connected with the procurement. Okay. In the business process flow, purchasing department do the purchases activities. They'll pass the information to payables by requesting, please make the payment. That's it. So procurement is not part of finance. AP is not part of procurement. It's very clear. Yeah.
So R2R, O2C,
Those
these
are the
things will come
cycles.
under?
I will explain those. Those are the business processes which organizations follows. We will understand. We'll have a session on that. P2P and O2C cycles. There you will understand how data flows, how communication takes place across the department. Accordingly, how data can be connected, how applications are connected, how data can be flow, how things can be automated. Everything you will understand in that session. Okay, but whatever I'm telling, please make a note and wait to get confirmation when we have that session. But what you are thinking, that is not correct. Please correct it.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And once this implementation project is created, you clicked on the next button.
Correct.
So after that, you are choosing all the options. But
Exactly. Offerings and options.
offerings and
And we
options.
are
Okay.
including.
From okay. But we have already selected from the financials offering, right, sir?
This is
Then
what we
what
have
is
to
the difference?
understand. 1 second. These are the 2 steps. First, we are enabling. Second step, you are selecting into project. If you don't enable first, it won't be available to select into your project.
Okay.
That's it.
Got it.
So,
So once we have
please move
just tell
on.
me.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So once we have selected couple of offerings and options from implementation project creation page,
Yeah.
for suppose if we missed anything and
Yes.
by mistake we clicked on
Yeah, this
done.
all you
So
will
again,
understand in the next session. Okay.
oh,
You can
okay.
add additional offerings or options, or you can remove and you can modify. You can do a lot of exercise on that. We are going to see all
Okay.
those tomorrow. Today, just we created project. That's all.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sir,
Thanks.
sir, small doubt actually. Since we have created the implementation project, right? So whenever we do the setups, first we have to go to that implementation project and then do the setups, or
Yeah, that's
just
what we do. And there are some other ways ways to do the setups also. You will discuss when, from where we have to do. If you do the setups from implementation project, what are the benefits? If you don't do the setups from implementation project, what are the disadvantages? Even if some disadvantages are there, how to convert those disadvantages as advantages by creating implementation project and mapping. These all we have to understand.
thank you. Sir.
Yep. Thanks.
Sir, do we get the screenshot of the navigation paths of each setup for our practice later?
You can see, so very initially you will think like that, a snapshot and all, but you no need to take snapshot. When we work for any client or any project, when you practice also, you no need to remember the navigation inside of the project. Always we search and we do it. I'll show you. Like, just you have to wait for maybe 1 or 2 sessions. You'll come to know navigations. You no need to remember within the project. Apart from the project, general navigation. So click on username, click on setup and maintenance, and select under actions, select go to offering. These navigations you can remember. Rest all what we do inside of the project, you no need to remember. How to deal with those different activities, we will understand very soon.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Questions, please. No questions. Okay.
Hi, sir.
Yep.
So when we'll get the credentials of the instance?
Please talk to the team. You can just get all those. Yep.
Okay.
Team will guide you how to get those.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, great. If no questions, we can wind up for today. We'll connect tomorrow, same time. Yep. Try to complete the same from your end as soon as possible, so that you will be connecting very easily when you attend the next session. Yep. Any questions, please? No questions. Okay. Done.